Okay, this is analysis of the 2020 English paper. All right, so these are the four sections that we have, and we can see that paper 1 is 35%. So it's editing, situational writing, and continuous writing the essay. Paper 2 is 35% as well. So it's comprehension. There's the visual text, narrative, and the non-narrative. Paper 3 is listening. So there's nothing much to say there. Paper 4 is oral. That's the one that many people are afraid of, but we'll talk about it later. Okay, so let's look at editing. So editing, right? Usually we advise students to take 10 to 12 minutes with some time left over for checking. It's more difficult than it looks, but it's generally possible to score all 10 marks, of course. One of the biggest
No.
pitfalls that students face is that they read this whole passage in editing, right, as individual sentences to be marked, and they are looking for simple mistakes, but that's usually not the case. The mistakes will not be that simple. That's why. Okay, you need to read and understand the thing as a whole, not to, the text is telling you a story. Yeah, it may be taken from a magazine, newspaper. So last year, the 2020 paper was taken from a newspaper, and it was about the Great Wall. So these are some of the examples that I've taken out. So it was also where I came closer that I realized that it was not going to be easy. Yeah. So these are the possible, like these are the mistakes. There are mistakes in all of these. Yeah. When I reach the highest, sorry, can you put it on silent?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so it was only where I came closer that I realized it was not going to be easy, right? So for this first question, some of my students said that their friends, right, changed the S to a D. So realized, yeah, but it is an S, it's not a D. Sorry, not a Z. Okay, because S is the British way of spelling it. Yeah, and the answer for the first bullet point, right, would be when. It was only when I came closer that I realized it was not. Sorry, I can hear you. Can you like put it on silent? Sorry. So when I reached the highest part of the wall, it felt as though I was in top of the world. So this is a pretty glaring mistake. So I was on top of the world. That means I'm really happy. Okay, so our century is already full of not so great inventions, which remind us that human curiosity never failed to seek out advancements. So the answer for the third one is fails. The fourth one, this is the bittersweet dilemma of eating these days. So THESE. Okay, so these are the problems that I'm not too sure if you guys sitting in front, you guys know the answer. Okay, the next piece. Okay, the next piece is a piece of advice. I would say generally, how would you work on editing? Because this is an important skill. This editing, right, will not be tested for A levels because it's considered a bit easy for A levels. Yeah, but if your child or if you are unable to do that, right, that's quite a big alarm bell. So you definitely need to work on it, because this is seen by teachers as the 10 marks that good students can get all of these marks. Yeah. So what you need to do to improve, to work on editing, right, would be to read more papers, definitely, and magazines, right? And spotting these mistakes, right, will become second nature to you. Another important thing to do, right, is to pay attention, right, to your own sentence structures, right, when you're speaking. Yeah. Most people speak in, I guess, pretty simple structures, and maybe that's a reason they are not able to spot the mistakes when they see them in the editing passage. Yeah, you should try to challenge yourself by reading more complex kinds of writing. All right, so I think that will help you. Okay, so let's move on. All right, situational writing. This is something that I think maybe parents and some teachers alike have problems with. The reason, well, many teachers would say what the reason, right? Many students find situational writing difficult is that students usually do not get much practice in this, and it is often reflected, right, by the examiners, right, the Cambridge markers, those are the people who are marking the O-level scripts, right, that when they read scripts, the students are just paraphrasing. They look at the bullet points, yeah, they look at what's given in the question paper, and then they just copy the points, and or they try to word it another way, they try to reword it or paraphrase it, but that is not what can get you a good mark. That kind of doing it that way, right, will get you like 18, 19 marks, 17 to 19 marks. Yeah. to get high marks, good marks, right? Anything above 22, 23 and better than that is definitely possible. You need to show a strong personal voice because you're trying to pretend like you are the person inside the thing that they're talking about. You can be a CCA leader. Yeah, you can be someone like the 2020 paper. You're supposed to be someone who is writing a letter to his uncle and his aunt. The uncle and aunt want to buy a travel package, right? They want to buy a holiday for your brother and your sister-in-law to celebrate an important wedding anniversary. So you really have to demonstrate, right, that you are that person trying to convince your aunt and your uncle, right, that which of the three packages, right, that they have selected is the best for your brother and sister-in-law without getting into character, right? The third bullet point, getting into character, that is pretending pretty hard that you are that person, right? It's not possible to score well because how am I going to convince the aunt and uncle that this is the best package if I'm not going to say anything about the personalities of the brother and sister-in-law? So this is a very, very important point, but a lot of students just skip this whole part because it feels difficult, and that's not good. All right. Okay, so let's move on. So this is the exact question. Your brother and your sister-in-law will be celebrating or will celebrate an important wedding anniversary next year. They don't say which year it is, but when we say an important wedding anniversary, it's probably not 3 years. It's not a random number. It can be 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. It can be 1 year because I guess 1 year is important to young people. Okay. Your aunt and your uncle would like to pay for an overseas trip as a gift for them. They have seen this travel website and have asked you to advise them about which trip your brother and your sister-in-law would like best. So you have certain special knowledge about your brother and your sister-in-law. Also, you are closer to them in age, which is why your uncle and your aunt would ask you to find out more because you would be able to recommend it based on some special knowledge. Write an email to your uncle and your aunt, right, to explain these views. So of course, right, you're expected, right, to make up some points about the brother and the sister-in-law, the places they have been to, what they like to do. Okay, state which type of holiday is the most suitable for your brother and your sister-in-law. This is the exact 2020 question. All right, so since this is to two family members, the uncle and the aunt, right, it is an informal piece of writing, but that does not mean impolite. Yeah, the tone needs to be casual and friendly. There can be a few more exclamation marks, but it's not impolite. Okay, so the next bullet point is what would look good. Yeah, what would be a proper way of starting? So, dear Uncle Jason and Aunt Anna. So you've got to give names. Yeah, you got to give names to this uncle and aunt. Right. I hope this email finds you well. So I hope you have been doing well. Yeah, things are good. Things are good with you. So I've not seen the both of you, right, since this reunion dinner 2 months ago. Yeah, and I'm missing all this advice and so on from you. So it's been 10 years, okay, since these two people they got married, and I remember thinking how compatible they were. So some kind of update, yeah, like what is happening, okay, what you're feeling about the brother and the sister-in-law. A lot of students wouldn't write this because they don't feel confident. They feel that they have to launch into the topic directly. But this is an informal piece of writing. It's not a formal letter. If it's a formal letter, you're expected to write a suggestion or a complaint, a proposal, right? Then you've got to be very straightforward and to the point. When you're talking to a family member or a close friend, right, usually there must be some kind of asking how they are, how things are, have they been well? So this is what will distinguish a good script from an okay script. Yeah. Okay, the next point. The last sentence of your first paragraph, right, whether it's formal or informal, right, must contain some kind of your choice. And the penultimate sentence, right, penultimate means second last, is usually thanking someone for trusting you with an important decision. Why, like, thank you, right, for trusting me with this choice. Yeah, I'm sure that you have traveled much more than me, and I'm sure you know which package is the most interesting or the most like the most worth it. Yeah, the one that you can get at the best price maybe, but the brother and the sister-in-law best. That's why they're asking you. Yeah, so if you don't invent any personal, like, any character, right, for the brother and the sister-in-law, right, you're not going to do well. Okay, so clearly you need to think more about inventing some kind of character traits and background, right, for this fictional brother and sister-in-law. So an overwhelming number of students will use the P6 skills that they have, right, which is to simply group the bullet points together and say something that's very general. So the SW, the situational writing, right, this whole piece will end up being really short. Yeah, and there's no description of how the brother and sister-in-law are like. So there's no point in asking this person to choose one because whatever he knows, the uncle and aunt also know. So that there should be very few marks given for content for this. Okay, but unfortunately, that's what happens a lot. All right, so the point also in situational writing, right, is to argue and be eloquent, but not loquacious. Loquacious is full of talking. Eloquent is to the point. Yeah. So for example, if the student is not going to choose the cruise, because there are three options. The first option is a cruise, okay, from Singapore to Hong Kong. The second option is a trip of, is a city tour of Beijing. And the third option, right, is to go to Bali. So one of the students that I was teaching last year, he argued this, and this is me using his argument. He got an A and he got an A1 in the end. So cruises are arguably more suited for families and not for young couples or couples like them. So the two of them, right? They're more suited for families, right? And you have heard your brother and your sister-in-law complaining about how cruises get very crowded. Yeah, the rooms are pretty small. Okay, they are crowded and they are more family friendly. Like people who have kids will bring their families on a cruise, or maybe older people, so they don't walk as much. That is the impression that people have of cruises. Okay, exhaust fumes, right? And the dumping of sewage into the ocean. So there's another reason you would not choose a cruise, because they are people who like the ocean, or there are people who are maybe scuba divers, or maybe people who swim a lot, people who like sea sports, so on. Yeah, so we need to invent some kind of background for them. All right, the last one, noise pollution from these cruise liners and entertainment on board, right? Okay, dancers, singing, so on. They are quite a disturbance to the wildlife, marine wildlife. Okay, so these are the reasons this student, well, my ex-student didn't choose this, and he's explaining it, and that's good. Yeah. All right, so this is the first option. 2 days at sea, there's a balcony view, 2 swimming pools on the cruise, right? Theater with nightly dance performances. And there's a stopover, and there will be in Cambodia and Ho Chi Minh City. Yeah, so Singapore to Hong Kong, and you stop over at a few other places. All right, okay, so well, in situational writing, right, some level of general knowledge, right, is useful, of course. It means that you can elaborate more and thus be more convincing. So this first picture of a monkey, right? It's a monkey that is posing at a temple in Cambodia. Yeah. So when we look at this, right, when we go to places in like in Cambodia, in Vietnam, and so on, we might be thinking that these are pretty hot places. Yeah, these are pretty hot, and a lot of places that they would bring tourists to would be places that are like temples. So if I want to argue against this, I would also say that my brother and my sister-in-law are not people who are interested in going to temples. They like adventure, and they like beaches. Okay? They like things that are relaxing, not things that are excessively hot. Yeah, because the heat can get pretty oppressive. So that might be something I would say. The whole point, right, in a situational writing is to convince. Why would I choose this instead of that? So there must be very sound reasons, right, that I'm choosing A instead of B. And since they've provided no background, you must be creating background. Yeah. Okay, the next thing, PAC, right? This is taught in, I think, almost every school. Yeah, purpose of the writing, the audience, right? Who are the people listening? Is it your CCA friends or so on? Yeah, the context, okay, the background, plus, right, a refreshing and authentic voice. You are really that person who is writing. Put yourself in that character. Yeah, it's like acting. Purpose, right? Why are you writing it? To thank someone, to suggest something, to build a relationship. Audience, is it someone in authority? Is it the school principal? So on, yeah. Relatives or CCA friends. Context, right? What is the background? Okay, let's move on. All right, situational writing, 2020 question, right? Okay, so be consistent. So you cannot say that they love animals and so on, right? But they don't know anything about the impact of cruises. So you need to be consistent throughout the 3 options. Okay, then for example, if I want to continue arguing against the cruise option, that's option 1. I can say that, well, they have spent a few years working in Hong Kong. Right, so spending 2 days there, yeah, a few days here and there, will not be very attractive to them because they know the place like the back of their hands. So why would I want to go to a place and spend some time there when I have maybe spent a lot of time there before, and go to these places that I've been to before? Yeah, so that I would think that wouldn't be very attractive. Right, Hong Kong can be quite noisy, and it's quite like Singapore, and therefore it is not likely to be many people's idea, right, of a romantic, like, you know, because it is meant to celebrate someone's wedding anniversary. So it's more likely to be romantic and more laid back, more relaxing type of holiday. So for that reason, I would say that Hong Kong may not be the best option. But you see, right, what this student has done is to lay out many reasons why he hasn't chosen that. That's very important to do, because I can't just end off, right, which is what some other students do, would be like, oh, Hong Kong is noisy, so I wouldn't go there. It's just one sentence. You can't get many marks for that. Okay, next option, right, will be this city adventure, this Beijing city adventure, right? Okay, so they say that they're gonna bring these you to the Forbidden City, to Tiananmen, to the Bird's Nest Stadium, and to the opera. So okay, so this student of mine, he argued against that also. So he said that since they have worked in Hong Kong, they have been to China a few times, and both of them are not really good in Mandarin. And they are interested in the culture, but if you're not good at a language, I think it may be harder for you to understand what's going on. So that could be why. Then I can also say that I don't think it's romantic or relaxing for them to spend this anniversary trip, right, on in a city. Yeah, because it's also a place that is quite noisy. There's quite a lot of traffic, so on. There are many things you can say. Both of them do not enjoy opera, so bringing them to the opera, right, I don't think it's meaningful for them. Okay, then this student, he chose, right, Bali. He chose the last option. Okay, and he's now arguing why it would be a good idea. So he says that Bali has a lot of waterfalls, and there are people who like nature. They are nature lovers. They are animal lovers. The rice terraces, where they have rice plantations. Okay, these are the things that people go to Bali to see. Waterfalls, some rice terraces to just relax. Yeah, there are many small cafes with good coffee, because there are a number of Australians who live there. Okay, and then these health food places. So many healthy food options that you can just walk out of the hotel or the private villa, and you can get some healthy food. Yeah, and if you don't want to, these hotels and these villas, right, they also can get the food in for you. So it can be very relaxing. You can just spend time just lazing around, I suppose. Yeah, swim, so on. And private villas means that you have a lot of privacy. It's like you like having the whole place to yourself. So that may be what people are looking for in anniversary trip. Another thing that was highlighted in the question are scuba diving lessons, and they are popular. Okay, so I can say that, yeah, the brother and the sister-in-law are people who like the ocean. Yeah, they are stronger swimmers, and this is on their bucket list. Bucket list means that the things that you want to do before you leave this world. Okay, so Bali is a very special place for scuba divers, because it is in the middle of a coral triangle. There are lots of corals and different kinds of fish and sea turtles there, so on. This student of mine also told me about how he wrote that your brother and your sister-in-law are people who have sponsored, right, sea turtles before. Yeah, so then that is a perfect reason to say that, that's why they would like Bali. Yeah, okay, they can opt out of deep sea fishing, because it is something that maybe people don't like. Yeah, you can opt out of it. Okay, the next one, okay, there are some pictures, right? Okay, for continuous writing, this is also 30 marks, and it's seen as the hardest, well, I guess hardest for many students to do. Some people cannot finish it on time. Some people write stories that pretty boring. Some students are not able to have enough ideas to be writing something, or if they have the idea, they're not confident of delivering it. Yeah, they are not confident of actually saying it in a very clear way that the teacher can understand. So here are a couple of pictures, right? What might be useful for a lot of students to do is to build up some kind of an image bank. Okay, like how do you use these images, right, to the best, I guess, to the best that they can be used in your essay. Okay, so the first picture is a picture of a library. Yeah, okay, so for reading and so on, it's a beautiful library. The next picture that's under that, right, is ballerina. So ballet, dancing, what do you like doing? Yeah, could be that. On the right, you see Justin Bieber. He is drumming. That's his drum set. And underneath, right, you see a cat. This cat looks playful. Yeah, but it looks a bit mean as well. Okay, and then the bottom picture, right, okay, you see a barrister, but this guy looks kind of young, so it could be a part-time job. Yeah, so building up an image bank, right, okay, can help you inspire you, get you some ideas. Okay, yeah, but of course practice is necessary to do well. Okay, then the next page, okay, we have question 1. And describe the things you do to relax after you have been very busy. Can be at school. Yeah, explain why you find them enjoyable. Okay, this is the most popular question, because the narrative question, right? Okay, when they ask you to write some kind of story, it's always the most popular. I don't know if that is the best question to do, but for most people, this is the only thing that they have been practicing in school. So it feels like it's the safest. Yeah. So, okay, it's not as easy to handle as it appears to be. The description cannot be boring. Yeah, and most of the memorized ones, right, are usually boring. So for example, I love playing computer games and killing monsters, right? This is a very distinctive primary school writing style. That's not good. All right, okay, the next one, let's see what one student has produced. Okay, so one tip, right, important tip, right, to doing well for narrative kind of writing, right, would be to think about what others wouldn't write. Yeah, because the whole stack of papers, right, is given to an examiner, and so you have this bunch of people all writing the same thing, right? Okay, he wants to see something new and fresh. A common complaint, right, from the markers reports, right, are that many students are very they have memorized something, yeah, and they are very keen to put that thing out, but that's what everyone else is doing. So that's not advisable. So try not to have topics that are too close to what you think other people will be writing. Write in a more authentic and refreshing way. That's important. So this student has written this, yeah. So I love to cook after a busy day at school. So I think when the teacher is reading it, they will think that, oh, that's interesting. A student who can cook and likes to cook. I love to be creative. I like to explore and experiment. So it's an immensely rewarding activity for me, right? I leave through cookbooks, yeah, in this bookstore. And I like taking in the lush pictures, right? And imagining how the dish will actually come out, will actually turn out. Even just daydreaming about these things and places and creating these flavors, right, is a very relaxing activity for this student. So then he talks more about what he likes to eat, yeah, and he talks about like right after school on the bus, he's already looking at recipes. So here we have this student writing something that feels pretty real to him. It's pretty authentic. Yeah, on the bus he is really looking at pictures of the recipes, right, and he likes cooking, so it's very clear from here. He's talking about the bookshop, he's talking about online things, and so there's a very clear picture of what he likes to do. Yeah, so that's what you're looking for. This would be an example of an A paragraph. Then he continues, okay, like, so when he gets home, yeah, he finds himself making, right, okay, a mad dash to the kitchen to watch the mother and the grandmother wrapping, okay, wrapping dumplings, right, or steaming all this kueh and braising mushrooms with herbs. So this, the teacher is getting an impression, right, that there is a lot of layer in here, layering. We are stacking ideas one on top of another. I'm not just saying I like cooking. I'm talking about the exact colors, the textures of that. Yeah, he can go on to describe more, like what kinds of blue, purple, I don't know, that would be better, because what you're trying to do when you write an essay, right, is to convince and to paint a picture in front of the examiner. Yeah, I love watching them and learning from them. So this cooking thing, right, is not just about the food, it's also about family. Okay, taking in the smells and listening to their lively chatter and exchange of cooking ideas, right, makes me feel relaxed, and I feel loved from this experience of someone making a lot of taking a lot of time and effort, right, to make me something. So these inventive veggie forward twists, right, on comfort food like cauliflower ribs and mushroom sticks, right, make me rethink my own ideas about food. So it's about family, it's about bonding, right, it's about learning, it's an education. Yeah, cooking is an education for him. So this student would definitely do well. Okay, so another student writing on drums, right? Okay, but it's also a good example, but not as strong. Here you don't get a stronger idea. This might be an A2 or a B3 kind of paragraph. So I've been learning to drum for 6 years, so I like drumming, and I'm more in love with it than ever. So very clearly he likes it a lot. Even just playing for 10 minutes, right, can give me a mood boost, and it does feel like a runner's high. Yeah, like runners after running, right, they feel very happy, high. I've read that feel good endorphins are released by a drummer's brain, right after the drumming session. The physical stimulation of drumming helps me calm down after manic school days. He doesn't just say busy or hectic. Manic is like, there's a lot of madness. Yeah, it's very tiring, very, very hectic. My drumming teacher has told us that from the earliest times, right, drum rhythms have been at the center of social and cultural activities all over the world. Apparently, drumming has meditative effects, right, and brings the frequencies of our two brain hemispheres into synchronization, creating feelings of euphoria. This, he's explaining why he likes it, yeah, but this is not as good as the first one. This is explaining why other people like it, but not so much of himself, how he feels. But that's the question. Yeah, describe and explain how you feel. There must be a very strong personal voice to get an A, actually even B3 can have a strong personal voice, right, but the language is not so fluent. That's why it's B3. A lot of students feel that they're going to get A2, but they actually will get A3, sorry, B3. Okay, the second question, question 2, right? Write about a time when you did something to impress someone which you have later regretted. It's common for students to want to impress the marker by choosing words that they think are difficult, but generally these words will not be that difficult for the examiner, because obviously the examiner has to be pretty good at the language, yeah, to be marking. So choose what you think is suitable, but not what you think is impressive. Okay, a lot of filler words, right, that no one needs in a sentence. For example, many different types of ideas, because many and different are the same. Yeah. Or free gift. Okay. So modify ideas from question 1, right, to use here. Yeah. Like for example, the drumming thing, right? You're joining a drumming competition to impress someone. Yeah. Or that you're cooking something to impress your grandma, right? But she's an excellent cook, so she's very, well, almost impossible to impress. That's what I mean by having an image bank, right? And then modifying and modifying. Yeah. Okay, so question 2, all right, is this rapper, this is a cartoon of a rapper. So I'm writing, this question is about impressing, trying very hard to impress someone that but you later regretted, maybe because the person wasn't impressed and you embarrassed yourself. So it was love at first sight, butterflies in my stomach, and mortifying, right? Very, very intensely embarrassing cliches like that when I first met Alice. Alice is a classmate, maybe, yeah. We don't really know, okay, but this is creating suspense, so this is good. All right, she had an ethereal beauty. She was a ballerina, but also she drummed and she rapped. I thought I was irrevocably in love, but on hindsight, it was an infatuation that I could not hope to fight. Yeah. Okay, so this builds up. Like, so the examiner is thinking, so what did you do to try to impress this person? Yeah. So since this person has such strong feelings towards another person, this girl called Alice, what does he do to try to impress her? Okay, so you are trying to make the examiner want to read on. That's very important to getting a good mark. Okay, this is a picture, right, of a movie from a number of years ago about drifting. Drifting is driving your car in a certain way so that it moves faster, yeah, in a horizontal way. So top marks, right, are given for originality in plot, in word use, and sentence structure. Is your sentence structure different? Yeah, is it not so amateurish? Amateurish would be primary school, like it was a sunny day, or it was, or I was. But when we talk, we actually don't really talk like that. When you read more magazines, you wouldn't talk like that. Okay, continuous writing question 2 again. So another student trying the question, okay, about this drifting, right, and about regretting, well, driving in a certain way, drifting, right, to try to impress someone, because it's hard to do that and it's actually pretty dangerous. Yeah. So the woods were shady, right, but not quiet. So far the spring had been much warmer and drier than usual, and the leaves and twigs crunched loudly under our feet. When we stopped, I could hear the bees and this person's breathing. So in the morning, it was traffic on the highway shushing past, but at night, right, the high octane racers on this on this drift happy mountain, right, was the reason we crept up each night, no matter how chilly it got. This is building up. Okay, he's talking about illegal racing, right, and building up the thing. So this guy is joining some kind of race, right, some kind of car race, right, to try to impress someone else. Could be his elder brother. Yeah, could be his elder brother. Could be a gang member kind of situation. He wants to join a gang, but the gang, like the leader, tells him to do something. Yeah. Okay, so you take the plot out of what is ordinary. I know some students would definitely write, right, okay, that they try to impress their parents, right, by working harder and doing well in an exam. But that's what 80% of people are going to write. If you write that, right, you have to write extremely well to do well, because that plot is very, very boring. Yeah. Okay, so we all, like I said just now, right, in examiners reports, right, okay, unoriginal plot, right, okay, and poor sentence structures are always cited as reasons to give a lower than B mark. So question 3, so learning how to respond to your own mistakes, right, is a big part to becoming successful. So what's your opinion on that? You need to unpack. Okay, I'm sure you've heard the word unpack in school before. This is a word that a lot of teachers use. Okay, it means pull apart, take apart, right? The key phrases: making mistakes and becoming successful. And the student needs to argue, right? Okay, in caps, really argue that this process is absolutely necessary, essential to get somewhere in life. It's not about just making mistakes in an exam, right? And then you amend the mistakes, right? And then the next time you do well. That's not what the question is asking you about. The question is asking you for things that are far beyond that. Because if they wanted to ask about exams, they would ask about exams. Yeah, which is why it's a pretty bad idea for students to write about exams and then doing well at exams. Because that's not what the question is asking you. The question is asking you for things like personal failures. For example, I fell out with my best friend. For example, I was caught like shoplifting. Yeah. For example, I made a mistake in saying something. I was rude to someone. And how did I learn from this mistake? Yeah. Okay. So I made a mistake on an internship. Okay, in a coffee at a cafe and so on. I made a mistake during a dance performance. That's what I mean by just now those images. Yeah. How did I respond to that mistake? Have I become more positive? Did I try harder to avoid those mistakes? How do I do something? So take it out of the classroom context. That's very important. Okay. Next one. Okay. So yeah, okay. So this student, another student of mine, right? Okay, when he attempted this, right, he told me that this was roughly what he wrote for the exam. He's trying to say that he made fun of a neighbor, yeah, and that was a mistake because the neighbor is someone who is nice, but she's a bit ugly and different looking, yeah. So he hurt the neighbor deeply, and what did this mistake, right, teach him about how to be more, maybe it taught him to be more compassionate, right, more understanding of people. Okay, so then he made the neighbor cry, and then he realized that, you know, I shouldn't have done that, because was it fun to be so hurtful? Yeah. So here this person is talking about how he first met the neighbor, right? Her feet and her lower legs were scratched over and stung by nettles, but the sister did not appear to be very bothered by it. Then the gorse bush cleared and we were in the long grass, right? Long enough to hide us if we lay flat. The first time I saw the house properly, it had a neat paved yard with a stone fire pit. And then the house was just like her, mottled and malformed. Okay, can start off this way and then talk about the neighbor and go into it. Go into the question of how what you did and said to the neighbor and how you learn from that mistake. But this question is learning from mistakes. You can't have just one mistake. You need 2 or 3. Yeah. All right. Then the next one. Okay, last one. The last question, right? This is not a popular question. Yeah. And it may be good that not many people did this, because this question, when attempted, right, a lot of students will have, hold on, don't close the door, will have a lot of they will write a lot of generalizations, and that's bad. It's never a good idea to write something like so this question is, there's no place like home. How true is this for you? It is common for students to be writing things like that, at least what I see amongst my own students, right? Okay, like all parents love their children. This is a pretty, I mean it may apply for you, but it definitely is not true. So you can't generalize. This is something that the examiner would definitely circle and mark you down for, because it's not true at all. Yeah. So it's not true at all, and you feel like this person lacks perspective. Okay, because obviously there are so many abuse cases in the newspaper. So if you don't know about that, yeah, okay, then don't write this question. Yeah. Okay, so okay, you can take some time to read this paragraph. Yeah, and this student is trying to paint a picture of a more fulfilling, right? Okay, family life. So you can paint that if you want, yeah, and say like how home is comforting for you. Home is the smell of good food. Home is companionship. Home is encouragement, and so on. You cannot ramble on, right, about how your family members, right, encourage you, and the whole essay is about encouragement, because that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for the different parts of home that make you feel like this is the most comfortable place that I can be. Yeah. So that's what you want to create. Yeah. Okay. Like you're never lonely at home and so on. Okay. Home has a lot of entertainment, your favorite games or your drum set, the best music, your siblings, your pet cat or pet dog, something like that. The best memories that you have formed with the people closest to you. Those are the things. Okay. So now let's move on, right, to visual text. This is 5 marks. Okay, so the visual text for 2020, yeah, you have some of these questions. Yeah, the advertisement is casual, it's friendly. Yeah, what do you think of that? It's about a farm. Yeah, it's about a farm, right, and a work experience place, like a placement. Yeah, that is what that 2020 paper is about. So visual text, right? Okay, we need to be more sensitive to the words that are provided. Okay, and look at bold and things that are in caps. So those are things that we can say. Some of the these are some of the standard questions. Okay. And then the next one, narrative text. This is the one that is the most difficult for most students. This is taken from a book. And this particular passage from 2020 is taken from a pretty well-known book, right? That was on some bestsellers list. It's called The Trouble with Goats and Sheep. It's about well, a pretty small community, and there's a lot of gossip, yeah, amongst the members of that small community, a small village kind of thing. When you see these next 3 bullet points, right, these are the exact sentences that are taken from the passage itself. She sailed like a vessel along the pavement, skirting around the pushchairs and the people who had stopped to wipe ice cream from their babies' chins, right? The student needs to pay extra attention to sail, vessel, skirting around pushchairs, and they need to know the meanings of these words. Sailing around like a vessel, right? A vessel is huge, but she's sailing also, and then so there's this image, Yeah, she's skirting around that, right? So these things are like not her. She doesn't have these problems. That's why we use the word skirting. Her life seems to have become disconnected from times and dates, right? So this person is like living in her own world. Okay, whatever day is, time of the day it is, right? It doesn't matter to her. That's why in your own world. All right, the smell of the pages seemed heavier when this girl is moving from one part of the library to another part of the library. It was not familiar, the ripe, solid smell of learning. So she was reading fiction, maybe simple kids, more kids' books. And she was moving from fiction into non-fiction. She felt that I'm seriously learning something now. That's why we use the word ripe, solid. So there needs to be quite a lot of awareness and sensitivity to the language to do well. Okay, the next one, narrative text. These are some of the questions. They'll be asking about tone, yeah, vocab questions. All right, compare contrast questions. Basically, it's you need to know. It's best not to well know not to be well, it's best to know as many words, of course, right, in the compre as possible. But sometimes the students are unable to do that, so you have to infer. But when you're practicing, try not to infer. You need to check. Okay, the last one is a non-narrative one. So in 2020 it was about penguins. Yeah, usually it's about some kind of animal or some kind of climbing expedition adventure. Yeah, it's a bit hard. Okay, so they are describing the penguins, right, and then personifying them by using the word quaint, human-like stance, and so on. So you need to know the meanings of the word quaint and stance, geometry, pigeon-toed. Okay, so these are some of the words about penguins. Then for oral, do not give short replies. Aim for at least 5 sentences per question. 5 sentences is considered quite short. Okay, the problems that many students face, right? Not enough ideas, okay, and a mental block, right, because of anxiety. So the conversation with the examiner doesn't flow. Difficulty in structuring your thoughts. So there's no structure when the person is talking, going off topic. Okay, so day one was some people, right, having breakfast at the void deck. How are they feeling? Your own community event experience. Is spending time with neighbors as important as time with family and friends? These are the 3 questions that the examiner asked. Yep. So example of community events, right? So when students sometimes they don't know the meaning of what of community events. Anytime that you spend in that community, it can be things like blood donation drives, going down to donate blood. Yeah. Okay, accompanying like an elder sibling to blood donation, going to a farm day out, yeah, farmers and so on, like it's organized. Okay, recycling event, so going to the void deck or to an area, to the community center to bring your bottles there, yeah. Okay, and flea market for the estate, heritage tour, history and heritage tour.
哎，你要听这个？不要呢。
Okay, so yeah, so recently I went to this farm day out, okay, event with the parents and the elder brother. The mother is a hobbyist, so she likes growing flowers and plants at home. It's a hobby, and she's been growing all these herbs, right, okay, along the corridor and in the community garden. She uses these herbs for cooking. They do deliver, they do give a lot more flavor than the ones that you buy in the store-bought ones. During the event, I saw many farmers introducing their crops. Yeah, so you need to describe what you saw during the event. Okay, what happened? Did anyone talk to you? Did you gain a better understanding? Did your parents like it a lot? What did they like? So don't involve just like yourself, okay, but like that event itself, right? Okay, did you eat anything special? Did you find out something special? What did your mom say? What did your elder brother say? Yeah, that kind of stuff. So that's why I say 5 sentences is not a lot. 5 sentences is the minimum. Yeah. Okay, and then how should we work to improve improve the mark, right, on the oral paper? Try to read news to build a bank of ideas, because the questions that they're going to ask, right, will be varied. So on one of the days, right, they're asking about ATM payments. All right, is it safer than cashless payments? Yeah, they can ask about sports, they ask about transport. These are common questions. Sports, right? What kind of sports do you like? Do you think that people in Singapore are not exercising enough? What can we do, right, to help people exercise more? Yeah. What are some of the benefits that you have seen, right, okay, when you exercise more? Yeah. What are some of the health problems that you have experienced or you see people around you experiencing? All right. So you need to read more of the news and magazines to build some kind of ideas. So even if you have never been to that place before, you can say something. If they ask you, tell me about the event that you have gone to before, right? Even if you haven't been to an event, you must say that you have been there so that you can describe the event. Okay, so practice reading aloud in front of a mirror. You can see what are the words you tend to skip, right? Are you reading the D and the S properly? Are you too fast or too slow? Are you pausing at the right points? record yourself, right, speaking, especially if you tend to go off topic, and then you can see, am I going off topic? Yeah, recording yourself or giving it to a teacher to listen to is important. Write your thoughts on things, right, that you encounter. Okay, so what you see on the bus, you know, sometimes you can write your thoughts on it, or practice like oral questions. Yeah, and on news articles that you see, you know, you can see a fight, or you can see someone threw their dogs away or something like that. All these things, I'm sure you have some kind of idea on why people would do that and how bad it is, or you're okay with that. Yeah. Day 4, it's a question that is hard for a lot of students. At least some of my students told me that this is a hard question for them. Do you agree that physical cash payments, are they safer than cashless payments? Okay, so you need to have some kind of idea of what you think is safe or unsafe. Can be that it's safer in a sense, right? Because there is no money to be stolen. Yeah. But if there's a data breach, right, there is a hack, then it is of course your information will be exposed, and it's also, and that's why it can be risky. People can get a hold of the information. Yeah. Okay, so listening, I won't be saying so much more about that, because listening is pretty straightforward. You need to, if listening is a problem, right, you need to do more videos, yeah, and try to take notes from those videos, looking at the transcripts and taking from there. That's about it. Okay, so this is it. Do you have any questions?
现在是提问时间啊！如果大家有问题的话，可以打开自己的麦克风，然后可以提问。大家有问题吗？好的，如果大家没有问题的话，我们就这样结束了。如果大家有问题的话，也可以去我们那个群里，就是我们那个我拉各位家长去进的那个群，也可以在那个群里提问，我们尽量在群里回答我们这个问题。如果还有人，也可以加我的这个微信，如果不在群里的话，加我的微信，然后我拉你们进那个群里，可以我们大家再接着一起讨论，好吗？好的，那我们今天就到这。